It's been years since the last one? Oh my gosh. VR Troopers. We made 6 of these videos and only now remember VR Troopers? The show focuses on 3 young adults, which is kind of refreshing for the time, since Power Rangers, its further entries, and its many ripoffs all had teenagers with attitude. And these are JB, Caitlin, and Ryan Steele, who serves as the leader and main focus of the trio. The VR is a lawless wasteland of monsters in either cliffsides or the evil lair of Grimlord, who also has a human disguise as Carl Zichter, a billionaire entrepreneur who's ripped straight out of an 80s teen comedy. Grimlord captures Ryan's father and nearly kills his partner, Professor Hart, though he still maintains his consciousness through VR, and aids the 3 heroes into becoming VR Troopers.
Trooper transform! We are VR!
Gosh, I love that transformation call. The way Professor Hart is just this old man who only appears on these visually intense backgrounds is hilarious. It's like it's going into a Tim and Eric sketch any second with him. Ryan's dog even gains the ability to speak, which leads into many wacky situations. When they're not in the lab, Ryan, JP, and Caitlin get martial arts lessons from Tao, whose sage advice helps them in and out of the VR. Much like other Saban shows from this time, VR Troopers uses footage from Japanese Tokusatsu and splices it with American actors. Unlike other shows, which primarily use one show and put in original fight footage when needed, VR Troopers is based on 2, that being the Metal Heroes entries, Spielbahn and Metalder, though most elements were taken from Metalder. So, Ryan would turn into Metalder, and JB and Caitlin would turn into Spielbahn and Diana Lady. In the first season, there was almost no interaction between Ryan and JB and Caitlin when they were transformed, so they worked around this by having quote-unquote battle grid segments before the main fight, where the 3 would fight in foggy low-lit stages while wearing poorly made spandex suits with recolored MMPR red helmets. Okay, I'll admit, VR Troopers has a bit of a soft spot for me, cause, well, the characters weren't one note, unlike the teenagers with attitude. Ryan has the most character development in the show, plus the creativity of splicing in 2, later 3 Toku shows together was just really interesting. Oh yeah, 3 Tokus. VR Troopers was popular enough to warrant a 2nd season, but because Saban exhausted 2 Metal Hero shows, their solution was to replace the Metalder footage by adapting Space Sheriff Scheider for some reason. Yeah, so Metalder and Spielbahn were each from 1987 and 86, which was a little old for 1994, but now they're adapting footage from 1984, which is incredibly jarring once you notice it. Ryan can turn into Scheider, but JP and Caitlin are stuck to Spielbahn footage. At least there's way more original footage for them, but it's still really strange. It sure is a Saban show. Maybe slightly less corny with less one-liners, but still a Saban show. Another thing casual viewers might know about VR Troopers is this blooper reel where the cast would come in after some drinks and, well, here you go.
You know, Dad, every time I hear that I think about you. But where the f*** are you, and why did you give me such a fat dog?
Jesus, bunch of Power Rangers wannabes.
Megazord this.
I got his White Ranger hanging.
Loses general farts about to penetrate my rec barrier.
Hail, slumlord, master of low-income housing!
Sadly, VR Troopers ended with that 2nd season, though there were apparently plans to adapt Blue SWAT, but that was quickly nixed, most likely because her actor's original skin were incredibly apparent. Then they followed it up with adapting B-Fighter into Big Bad Beetleborgs. Please don't ask about Beetleborgs. Okay, Liz didn't write this following line, but me, I'm not personally a fan of Beetleborgs. Okay, there I said it. Since we talked about VR Troopers, I guess we also have to talk about Cybertron. Maybe the story with Cybertron is just as well known as VR Troopers itself by this point, but we might as well mention it. Adam Steele is a popular martial artist who wants to find out what happened to his father. Once his sensei Tao reveals to him the secret project his father was developing in secret, Adam becomes Cybertron. And yes, the name was already used by Transformers. Whether this was found out later by Saban or not, it still went far enough to be used in this pilot presentation. In VR Troopers' original plans, only Metalder was meant to be adapted, with Ryan Steele being Adam Steele and being played by Jason David Frank. A new role for him as Tommy was originally planned to be a short-lived character in MMPR. Brad Hawkins was meant to be a new character in the 2nd season of MMPR who would eventually become the White Ranger, but the popularity of Tommy outweighed that notion, so Tommy was brought back 4 whole episodes after he lost the Green Ranger powers, and he became the White Ranger. Still, the very idea that Tommy was going to be left in the past and JDF would have become Cybertron, with or without that name, is incredibly fascinating. His character here, with all his quips in and out of the suit, kind of seems more like JDF than Tommy was too, at least at that time. We still miss him.
I've got one thing to say about that.
What?
It flies open. Psych, look.
While Brad Hawkins didn't really get the Power Rangers role he was promised, he did become the voice actor for Trey of Triforia,
Okay, now it's my turn!
the first Gold Ranger in Zeo, so I guess there's that. Then he became a country singer for a bit. Liz, why were you mentioning that? Oh well, I read it anyway. But I will also mention the 2 comic relief characters in this pilot that didn't really show up again in VR Troopers, Elmo and Scuzzy. Elmo was played by Jamie Kennedy, which leads us to Son of the Mask. Just kidding. Zillafoot. In the not-too-distant future, UFO hunters find something more than they bargained for when aliens arrive with a giant, bioorganic monster that the army has called Zillafoot. And I don't know if I really like this, to be honest. This was obviously made with a low budget, and there's a ton of stock footage and green screen, and sometimes it totally feels like the creators are doing it just for padding. There's also intentionally bad dubbing all over the movie. I guess trying to be like the Toho produced English dubs from yesteryear, and while it can be funny in certain scenes, it just comes off as a little tryhardy. Also, the casual sexism, slightly racist voices, and overall attempts at being cheesy or so bad it's good doesn't make me think it's actually good. It's just kind of terrible, actually. I was going to say at first that I probably shouldn't knock low-budget films like this, especially when they're inspired by older tokusatsu. Like, that Ultraman-like opening is kind of cool, and has an extended cameo from Dan Zilla, the head of the Godzilla novelization project. But it also seems that the studio behind this, Polonio Brothers, has a few dozen other movies that are also pretty much like this. They just don't happen to be Toku-inspired. It's not hurting anyone to brutally criticize one of them. Am I wasting my time even talking about this movie? Am I wasting your time? Yes, but here's something else that isn't such a time waster. Psycho Goreman. In some North American town, 2 siblings, Mimi and Luke, find a gem in their backyard. Then, they realize this gem is a power source to an alien who fell to Earth, and they make the alien their personal best friend. Sounds like a pretty typical 80s or 90s family film about an extraterrestrial, huh? You'll come to find out that this film, Psycho Goreman, flips that concept on its head to kind of give it a gory, Guyver-like display of action, comedy, and total carnage. The title character is actually the Archduke of Nightmares, a battle-born warrior who's wreaked havoc across many worlds in the galaxy, and is given the name Psycho Goreman, or PG for short, by Mimi, who retains control over him with the gem. Mimi is also kind of a big hurdle for the whole experience for some people, as she's probably the most domineering personality in this film. There are some reviews on places like Letterboxd from people who say she's one of the most annoying characters ever, quote unquote. And yeah, that's kind of understandable, but from Liz's perspective, not me, I'm Marcosatsu, this is Liz's sentence. She's entertaining as long as you don't take the entire movie too seriously. Hey Liz, did I ever tell you how much I appreciate you? Thank you for writing this segment. Aside from that, the action is grounded, yet intricate. There are some big climactic battles with some incredibly bloody practical effects. And it all makes for something that's equal parts the live-action TMNT movie, Guyver and Hokkaido. If you're interested in a film that pays tribute to 90s sci-fi action films with some great attention to impact in its action, Psycho Goreman delivers on those fronts, while also being pretty funny at times. It also has Rich Evans. Armor Hero Star Ray. The 6th show in the Armor Hero series comes Star Ray. When the Dark King threatens Earth, a group of people gain the power of stars to become armor heroes. Well, it's definitely another show in the Armor Hero series. I really don't have much to say about this one, but you can find some episodes on YouTube with English subs. I kinda like the suits, I kinda like the belts, I kinda liked what I watched. Again, I don't have much else to say other than this exists. Trust me, when I eventually get to talking about Armor Hero in their own big videos, I'm gonna be giving the same vibe for Star Ray. Xtreme Vanguard Bataar. Dude, this has one of the sickest henshin sequences I've ever seen. Xtreme Vanguard Bataar comes to us once again from China. The story is your typical henshin hero plot, good versus evil with the guy in a suit. The show also has quite the interesting production history, as it's been in the works since 2023, and only released in mid-2025, almost getting cancelled but then having a revival due to the success of another Chinese tokusatsu show. No, not Armor Hero. Even if the story is a bit basic, the visuals are simply gorgeous. I love the suit, the transformation device, the HDness of it all, and better yet, it's fully subbed in English on YouTube. And better yet, the episodes are short, with a lot of focus on action. Bro, I'm just saying, if you're into Kamen Rider and already watched everything except Showa, just like me, then you gotta watch some Chinese tokusatsu, especially Xtreme Vanguard Bataar. Speed Racer. With its resurgence in popularity, Speed Racer is one movie I've been wanting to talk about, and it seems like now's the perfect time. Okay, you probably already know, Speed Racer was an old anime and it was known for being real wacky, not to be confused with Wacky Racers. Then this movie comes out in 2008. It was even wackier, incredibly fast-paced, with breakneck racing, full of color, cool characters, and an actually really good story, all in live action. Then no one watched it, until it got re-released in 2026 and got all the praise it deserves, cause man, this is a genuinely great movie. There's another one I'm keeping short because it's Speed Racer. What you see is what you get, and it looks incredible. Now, you might be wondering, this movie counts as tokusatsu? Yeah, of course it does. Ike Boys. Ending this video was something a little out there. A 2021 movie called Ike Boys. A group of buddies watch an anime movie, when suddenly, they get superpowers. Its use of multimedia is really fun, with a mix of anime and of course, special effects drama. I first was interested in how much tokusatsu this American movie would truly be inspired by, but I stayed for its coming of age story. The main trio are so lovable, and their journey of fighting a cult is, well, I think I can see the Toku influence here. Aside from that, I feel like this is almost like a love letter to cheesy tokusatsu shows, and I do mean tokusatsu, as there's clearly some homages to Kaiju and Ultraman, not just Power Rangers. Part cult mystery, part henshin hero, part Kaiju film, it's full of heart that I was happy to watch with my friends. And if you have any suggestions for the next installment of Tokusatsu outside of Japan, leave them in the comments below. With all that being said, I really gotta work on those Armor Hero videos.